Today we're joined by Ethan Anderson, the developer of Nubby's Number Factory, a pachinko-esque number go up 'em up with a glossy coat of paint. Sean, you were up till demon hours last night playing, right?
Yeah, I usually keep a real tight ship in my personal life. I try to go to bed at like 10:30. Point is that I ended staying up till 1:30 last night because I couldn't stop playing friggin' Nubby's Number Factory, dude. And even like as we were preparing to record this show, I booted up the game because I just wanted to confirm the name of the composer, Vinegart. Am I pronouncing that correct? Oh, welcome to the show, Ethan.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. You are pronouncing that correct, by the way.
Vinegart?
That's how I pronounce it.
Okay, cool.
He's based it off of the word vinegar, but he's never corrected me when I call him Vinegart.
Vinegar?
So on his behalf, go ahead with Vinegart.
Thank you, Ethan. But the point is I booted up the game just to look that up while we were preparing to record, and then Alon was starting to ask me questions about how we wanted to structure something, and I wasn't listening because I was playing Nubby's Number Factory. And and we'll go into more detail about this, but like you've made a number lover out of me when like in the past I don't really mess with these sorts of like bag building, deck building types of games, and like this one sort of unlocked it for me. So the first thing I want to ask you is, do you consider yourself a numbers guy?
Yeah, I would say so. Well,
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not particularly math inclined.
There we go. Yeah.
I'm more of an artistic soul, I think. But
yeah.
there's something about, idle games. Like those things you just let run on a second monitor, like Cookie Clicker and whatnot.
Mhm.
Like something about those, it does that for me. Like it unlocks that part of my brain where I'm like, okay, I don't care what's going on around me right now. I am like numbers all the way. I'm watching go up. I love it.
So you're a fan.
I'm a big guy.
You
Yes.
like number go up. Do you subscribe to like that like number go up as like a genre unto itself, kind of, or like?
I think it is becoming somewhat of a genre. I think with like Balatro kind of, infusing the roguelike genre with the number go up genre, if you will.
Hell yeah.
That kind of kicked it off for me, where I'm starting to think of it as like, okay, say what you will, but it's legitimate to me. The number go up genre. You want to call it incremental if that suits your fancy, but
incremental games.
Yeah.
If that sounds a little more like.
I was like kind of wondering how long it's going to take till we bring up Balatro, because like every Nubby's review is like, this might be the next Balatro, but made in 1993. And
A
I'm like,
twisted
okay.
take on Balatro.
Yeah, and it's just like, dude, that's so tiring and so overdone. But like that must have helped in your sort of like release campaign, that people were just like, oh, cool, I'll check this one out now.
Yeah, it did. It was like, because people love Balatro, and they're taking that like that love and they're applying it to my game. They say, oh, so this must be equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of, it is tiring, because it's like, a lot of times they try to pit it as like the Balatro killer.
No.
And like
Oh, God.
trying to make it really like adversarial to
So dramatic.
local funk, and I'm like, no, because I've talked to local funk about it, about all the comparisons, and he's like, yeah, I don't know where people get that. It's like I guess makes us feel the same way to an extent, but
Okay.
totally different game, I guess. But yeah, we're both tired of it.
That's okay. Wide flank exclusive.
Yeah.
I guess like it does beg the question then of like, because I very like quickly out of hand was just like bag building, deck building, da. Like, what do you think it is that sort of like, do you think there is like a significant shared? Because I've heard you talk about how like Balatro was like kind of would you say that Balatro was an inspiration in some of the conception of Numbies?
Yeah, I would say so.
So cool. So like where do you think the comparisons even come from? Or like what do you think, or more broad, like opening up the conversation, like what do you think like these different number go up type of games share with each other, like beyond the number going up quite literally? Like what are like some of the more like deeper design things that they share?
There always seems to be this emphasis on allowing the player to feel smart and break the game in
Mm-hmm.
some way. And that's something that I really try to hone in on is like, how can I, give the player all the pieces, but not solve it for them right away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's there, and they can put the right pieces together, and then all of a sudden it's like dopamine heaven and all the lights and all sound effects and stuff. I think other than that, I would say there's an emphasis on like knowing when there is a release of dopamine happening
Like
and capitalizing that.
okay, in the player, you mean? Like
Yeah,
sort of like if I design this, it'll probably kick
yeah.
something off for the player.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
and like saying, okay, the player just got, a million times the goal that they needed. So I
Yeah.
need to make them feel like they just got a million times the goal they needed. And
Uh-huh.
that's the same thing with Balatro with like, the side display where it's like the flames
fire.
coming with the fire.
Yeah, the
and
fire,
it's like,
yeah.
when that goes off, you're like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, I cooked something up real good.
so that to me was like the kind of the sound effect of like the restocking and all the fireworks at the end,
Mhm.
And I think a lot of those games kind of have that in common where it's like, wow, it's similar, slot machines. Like they'll tell you when you won the jackpot, you're gonna know.
It's
right?
pretty clear, yeah.
Pretty
it's
obvious.
it's loud. It goes ding ding ding.
Right.
Yeah, I had like a thing on when we talked about Nubbies and Luck Be a Landlord, that for me it was sort of like this like anticipation and release where I'm like setting up the dominoes and then I get to see this like insane chain reaction and it's like so sick. I was just wondering, did you play anything else like that kind of inspired Nubbies maybe or influenced you in any way that like sort of had that feeling or gave you that feeling?
Yeah. Well, it's not. I wouldn't call it a game, but I kind of always had the design of like Rube Goldberg machines in
Okay.
mind,
Yeah,
where
totally.
you have all these different parts and like something obviously accomplishes something super simple right at the end, but
Mhm.
it's all of this like setting up and like this is gonna hit the dominoes gonna hit the lever and da, 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 da,
Yeah,
like, all of
totally.
that stuff. And I love like you said, it was like the domino effect
Yeah.
of that, which was the inspiration for a lot of the design choices, and especially with the items and perks.
It's like
Totally.
creating like ongoing like chaining into one another kind of with like the player shooting the ball as like like flicking
Yeah,
the first
exactly.
domino.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like a simple action. And also it's interesting that you like it's Rube Goldberg machine. As I was like playing the game and like I was sharing my screen to Alon before we all hopped on together, and like Alon out of nowhere was just like you got a nice machine going. It's a nice machine you
You got a
got
nice
there.
build going here.
Yeah. And that's like truly what it feels like, is like putting together these things. But I guess it's also, I wonder about like, so the game plays around with like a lot of chance like elements and a lot of intentional elements. And I've heard you talk about elsewhere, like being a little wary of it being too random. So I'm curious, like, how do you balance like intent with chance in like the design itself?
um, well, there should always. I mean, I always try to have whenever there's a true random, chance for allow for chaos to enter the room. I always like there to be some backup, something to
Mhm.
fall back on, like just in case something like you blew it on the claw machine and you don't have any money left. It's like, okay, that's fine. And you're gonna the next round you're gonna make it all back, right? So it's things like that where it's like, okay, there is gonna be random there, but I don't ever want it to be so random in these really key moments where it's like, all right, well, if I get screwed over here, the run's done. Like
Mhm.
those are the kind of things where I'm like, I hate to see it, like there's sometimes when I see it happen, and it's just unfortunate.
Sure.
And
Couldn't be helped.
can't be helped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, just trying to be wary of that. I guess. And I don't like to say that like doing something random or having a random chance is like an easy way out of something.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to design an item around randomness. Because if I can say, oh, 50-50 chance for this, I can kind of mentally gauge like how many times it's going to happen, 1 and 2. So it's a really easy way to like buff or nerf items. So it feels too easy to me for it to be like viable, I guess. When I'm designing items or for example, I like there to be a little bit more intent going into it. But it does. There is a lot of times where it does kind of fall into that trap, I guess.
So I guess to like follow that up, then like how do you start to design more towards intent, like rather than away from randomness, but to like are you creating and this is as good a place to say as is it pronounced synergies or synergies? Because on the last episode I got a lot of flack for saying synergies.
Well, I always hear synergies, and he was saying synergies the entire episode.
I hear synergies.
Yes,
okay.
dude. Thank you.
Fine.
Ding.
But the genuine question was like, how do you design for intent, rather like towards intent?
Well, I think there's, I like in that case, I'll use the example of shops are random. You get 4 items at a time, and you get 1 reroll. So really, you have 8 items available to you. That's totally random, but I'm using the idea that players are going to keep playing the game over and over and start understanding how items interact with each other more and more. So say they get they're dealt a bad hand in the shop. They can say, all right, well, what have I learned from in the past, and what can how can I read this as a positive for me? Like some people hate on like the halving builds or peg halving builds, and they'll get a shop full of those items, and that might encourage them, if they get a bad hand, just to try out something new.
To try it out, yeah, totally.
And I'm hoping that like the overall intent is that they'll try it out and find out that they like it, and all of a sudden come up with a whole new way to play the game.
Yeah.
So I guess you'll like leaning on intrinsic like learning, I guess, or learning over time and processing how things work.
Like the player learning over time, and like internalizing more and more information, and like giving them opportunities to try stuff out that like you're like motivating their intent. You're saying like, no, go for it. Like, yeah, like
it's viable.
Be intentional. It's viable.
That's the goal.
Yeah, totally.
I was wondering like how do you judge if you're like having a good run when you play? Because like it's like a complicated literacy. I feel like it starts really simple and small numbers, and it's like, oh, I need 14. If I hit that, like pop that 8, like I'm halfway there, whatever. But once it gets like more and more crazy, and the numbers get crazy, and you have 5 items and perks and stuff, it's like I have a hard time myself being like, oh, this is gonna scale to the late game, or like I'm doing well right now. But I'm curious how that works for you, because you obviously know the game so intimately.
Well, there's items in Nubby that scale, and there are items that don't.
Yeah.
So I do know I have like a mental catalog of all the items that I shouldn't take with me past like round 40, past the mid game.
Yeah.
So I guess thinking like if I can secure items that I know will scale to the end game early on, I'm like, okay, this is going to the moon. Same thing with like like Balatro. If I get like DNA or something really early on, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I know how to play with this, and I can win with this.
Yeah.
It's just knowing or differentiating between those items. I know a run is doomed when like I feel like I'm at the edge of my seat the whole time. It's like it's a matter of time.
I mean, that fear when you're on your last shot, it's just like, oh, fuck, dude. I really need like this and this to trigger, or like I'm completely screwed.
Yeah, that's where the talk of randomness comes in.
Yeah.
Too much RNG. That's screwed over.
And Does it end up being though that like when you're at that point where it's like, oh, this is just gonna get worse and worse, or like, do you find that you've designed ways for like there to be turnarounds, kind of? Because I had a run where it like at a certain point it was like very clear that it's like I need to nail these types of shots or I'm screwed, kind of. Like I forget what the exact combination of items was, but it was like. I'm trying to think of like more specific details about it,
you had like a highest peg popped build, right?
Yeah, it was essentially yeah, like everything was pointing towards that highest like popped peg. Like there was like multiple like doubling things, and everything was about the highest peg, such that like if I didn't hit the highest peg, it was just I'm not gonna hit it. But if I did hit the highest peg, it was like I don't even need to think twice about it. We're fucking done here, dude. So I guess that is like that is an example of like I don't know if there was something I could have done as a player to like edge it more in my favor. At the same time, I really enjoyed the stakes of just like I just got to nail these one shots, so that every time, because you know it's nerve-wracking to get the final ball, but it's also like I really gotta nail this one. Like I gotta shoot the question I was asking though is like, how do you design for like if a player is close to that screwed position? Like what kinds of I'm not looking for tips and tricks. I'm looking for like which item should I use? I'm looking for like how do you think about like how to start to edge that player away from like failure, kind of, or like what enables them to pull themselves out of that situation?
Yeah, I feel like it really comes down to like what are you getting in the shop at those points, and you know how open are you to like pivoting and saying, okay, here's how it's going right now. Am I willing to take a risk here? There's an item in the shop that could turn this whole thing around, but this is like one of 3 pieces that I need, you know.
And I've never used it before.
So it's like I try to enable those. I'm trying to make pivoting really easy, and say like, all right, well, you can sell your items for like half their worth. And if you see 3 items in the shop, go ahead, sell all of your items so you can buy those 3 items and turn it around and try something better.
Yeah, do like a significant build shift like mid-run.
Yeah. So I think keeping the shops completely random, because I've heard of some developers talk about like I forget there's a term for it, but it's a type of randomness that's not quite random. It's like influenced by your decisions in the game.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
So like if
Balatro has that, right? I think so.
Maybe I wouldn't know, but it's like if you have a build going, you're more likely to get items that work with that build in the shop.
Yeah.
And you know, let's just say you got your highest peg pot build going, and now you're like, I don't think I'm liking what's going on here. And the shop keeps giving you those items. You're like, I don't know what to do with this.
You made your choice 20 boards ago. So like, this is it, buddy. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say, I think there's a time and place for that design, but I don't think it was with Nubbies.
Right.
Sure.
Well, so then I guess like, you know, there's been numerous updates. I think there was a really recent update, right, on Steam. From your perspective, like, when do you stop tweaking with it and rebalancing and like reacting to people being like, this build sucks, I can't ever win with this, you know? Like, do you ever get like that sort of fatigue that you hear about in like sort of, you know, like a musician will be like, oh, I can't listen to those songs again after they release their album or whatever? Like, are you nearing there, just being like, enough Nubbies, dude? Like, you know?
Yeah, like kind of. I get it some days where I wake up and inbox is just full of like, this item sucks. Like you should buff it, and it cost me to run.
Oh my god!
Man, like, we take a break, you know, like sometimes it's exhausting at times. And it's Nubby is something that I want to move on from eventually. You know, like they're like how like local funk has I've talked to him has zero desire to move on from Balatro.
Oh, really?
For real?
For the time being, I'm not sure how that's going to hold up, but he has like long-term devotion to something he's passionate about, and I still am passionate about Nubby. It's just not to that extent where I'm like laying out the roadmap for the next couple of years.
Sure.
It's like hoping to put the kibosh on it sometime, but it still is fun to work on and to see people like have fun with it. You know, like that's where the joy comes from.
Well, ironically, you're the one working at the number factory now. Now that you've made Nubbies and it's discussed.
Fucking dark.
Yeah, so suffering from success.
But like I had a genuine I started freaking out when Alon asked that question, because I have my own sort of version of it, which is like I've heard you talk about how you sort of want Nubbies to get to a state where it is like evergreen. There's another word you used with longevity. You want it to be a game with longevity that like you kind of don't get tired of, because that's like not like really what we're talking about. But I get the straightforward question is like, what do you think makes a game evergreen? Like, what types of designs do you feel like reflect like that sort of like, I'm gonna play, because I say it sometimes with games we cover, just like, oh, I'm gonna play this till I die. And like it doesn't mean I'm gonna play it every day, but it means like this is such a solid design. So I'm just curious, like, what do you think an evergreen game looks like, or what's an example of one for you?
Well, let's see how I put this. I feel like there's multiple types of evergreen games. I think there's games that are evergreen. Like, let's talk about like CS:GO or CS2 now.
Hell yeah, dude!
You're talking Alon's language.
It's like a game because it's multiplayer, and every single time you're playing against new people, you're playing with new people.
Yeah,
it's completely different every single time. Absolutely different, and it's fun.
Yeah.
So I feel like these multiplayer games have this like innate evergreenness to them.
Totally. Yeah.
And single player roguelikes don't get that. So you have to find ways to like, all right, well, how do I make this replayable for the 400th hour? And I look at like games like The Binding of Isaac. I have 500 hours in throughout the whole series.
Yeah,
and it's a lot. And I'm like, there's a lot of stuff to do here, right?
Yeah,
but it's limited. It ends somewhere.
Yeah.
And I just keep finding myself coming back to it. So I'm like, why am I doing this? And I realize that like the longevity for single player games is a matter of like, what's your relationship to the game personally? Like, I play The Binding of Isaac as like a comfort game in the morning.
Dude, not to interrupt you, but I would like, as you were like sketching that out, I was like, I wonder if comfort is part of it. That it's just like reliability of mechanics, and just like right now while we're talking, I'm squeezing a Kirby squish ball, which on the one hand is like Kirby's comfy to me, but it's also like I'm literally just like fidgeting with something while we're talking.
It's a parallel, I feel like, between like your stress ball there and like games like The Binding of Isaac, where I'm playing it. I'm not getting bored of it. I know what's going to happen. I know how it's going to end. I've done it a million times, but I still play it because it's like it's fun. It just kind of fills the void, So I think for roguelikes, it's like, what am I going to do when I'm bored? Is it a boredom killer?
Right.
I think as long as it kills boredom and you don't get bored of it, that's where the longevity comes from for single player games for me.
Yeah. I mean, that's me with Slay the Spire. I think I have like over 2,000 hours in that. I've been, but hear me out. I've been editing video and podcasts for really long, like over a decade now. And it's my second monitor game. It's like I'm waiting for something to render, or like I just have it open when I'm like listening to a part, or like whatever, posting, uploading, downloading. and it's just like there. I'm just like, oh yeah, like let me like play some cards and like whatever. And yeah, I know every card and I know every boss and stuff, but it's still hard. And it's like just comfortable enough that like my brain's sorta off, but like I can just like occasionally look over at it and like play some cards and do some stuff and be like, hell yeah.
Yeah, it kind of comes to second nature
Yeah,
after a certain
exactly.
point, where you feel like you're fidgeting with like a stress ball at some
Totally.
point because like this is there's some thought put into it. It's going on, it's on the back burners, but still happening, right? Like that. That's kind of exactly what I'm getting at
Yeah, yeah.
with at that point.
Yo, this is stupid. But would you ever make a Nubby stress ball merch? Is merch on
That's
the
a good
horizon?
merch.
And
That's
is
good merch.
Nubby stress ball?
Or the sun, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I will say
Oh,
there is something on the horizon.
Oh.
I'm not allowed to disclose exactly what.
Yeah.
It's a T-shirt.
Yeah, I won't say exactly what, but something
Sure.
adjacent to that. We'll say.
Okay.
Hell yeah. It's the sunglasses, right? It's got to be the
The
sunglasses.
only times people have asked me about
I'm
a
sure,
Nubby
dude.
stress ball, like,
Oh, genuinely?
Oh, stress ball? Oh, shit.
I was just being stupid.
I got an email yesterday. Some guy's like, "Hear me out. I got an idea. It's gonna get you. You're gonna be a millionaire."
Also, this item fucking sucks, dude. Fix your game.
Oh yeah. Average
That's funny.
Nubby email.
That's funny.
This is a hell of a pivot. But so we're talking about squeezing ball, talking about squeezing Nubby. I've heard you talk about like squeezing the juice out of a simple concept. I listened to 2 interviews with you before we hopped on today.
Good research.
So that's why I keep referencing. I've heard you talk about, but the point is, you've talked about like squeezing the juice out of a simple concept. So my question is, what is Nubby's juice?
The juice is pachinko.
Pachinko?
That's
Yeah.
what I'm juicing. The juice is like the items, the perks and stuff. But what I'm juicing is pachinko.
I hear you. I see you. Yeah.
So it's it actually Nubby started out as it's just like a Peggle clone. And I had no intention on ever turning it into a roguelike until I just had that idea one day where I'm like, okay, what if like when things happen in the game, other things happen? And like that was like the event horizon.
Truly though, yeah.
It's
so good.
The pieces all fell into place after that.
And one thing led to another.
And then
that thing. Sorry, keep going.
It's so like engaging to try to continually, even to this day, like come up with things that are new and unique and that kind of take the original concept and bend it. Like just all the builds that you can try to do in Nubby, like they're all like a product of like one unique idea, like doubling a peg, like that. Like once I had that idea, that unlocked like 20 new items. So it's like you really take what you can get when it comes to like good ideas for the game. And like having pegs, like that idea unlocked another 10 items. So it's like these ideas you can't let go of them, and there's not too many ideas. Like it's hard. I think a lot about Nubby, and then I think I'm a pretty efficient idea generator, and it's like I mean I've come up with maybe like 8 or 9 really good ideas over the past like 2 years. So like I said, like it's not a lot. So you gotta work with what you got, and then it's like whenever you get an idea like that kind of like adds another branch to the tree. It's like you gotta think of how many other branches can I make stem off of this. And like having when you double a peg, having an item that like reacts to that and says, "Oh, you doubled this peg. Let me shoot a laser across the screen and do this." Like things like that. I think it's a fun thing to do, to like start with a really simple concept and just try really hard and brute force the juice out of it.
Well, yeah, like testing, adding things to it. And like inversely, like I'm kind of curious about what your like editing process is. Like how do you know when to be like, no, this idea stinks. Like I need to like move on from this one. It's okay. I'm learning. I'm growing. We're all growing. But it's like when do you clock, when in your creative process do you clock like, okay, I'm gonna focus on this now? Or like do you think about that or
Um, kinda.
mm-mm.
There's like there's times when I realize like whenever I find that I'm really like banging my head against the wall with an idea, just really
Mhm.
trying to make it work. You have to be open to just saying, what if it doesn't? What if it's never meant to be?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
totally.
And it's like that. There was like this archetype that I had of like the Nubby hits wall trigger used to be like way more elaborate. Where I had like
Mm.
Nubby hits left wall
Oh,
and
okay.
right wall, and I even
Uh-huh.
had him that says Nubby hits left wall, then right wall. I'm like,
Nubby hits
That's
right
tough.
wall 3 times and then
yeah,
left wall once.
it was like that. And I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, yeah.
I think about it like, what if say like it's the first time someone's playing the game, and that's the first
Mhm.
item they hover over to check the description for is Nubby hits right wall 3 times, left wall once. They're like, what?
This is a wall-based
Is this
game.
Yeah.
the wall? Is the goal to hit the wall?
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to hit
truly.
these pegs.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
wondering, like, did you have like a circle of trust? Like, were you like sending it to friends and family who were coming back and be like, this is great, or like this isn't working, or was it kind of just you like solo in your own zone, like testing everything?
I do have like a good there was the Discord community for Nubby.
Okay,
And
cool.
when it started out, it was like small, but really devoted.
Mhm.
I found
Mhm.
like everyone there was maybe like 30 to 50 members on it for like the first couple of months of the demo being out, and
Yeah,
everyone was super into it. And like those are
Yeah.
the people that I would push it off to and say, is this good? Is this bad? Just kind of test the waters with things
yeah, yeah,
before
Mhm.
I started charging money for it. Yeah, those people really helped. Like the just getting the watching people play. Like I would watch people stream it in Discord and seeing how they interact with it. Like, are they confused at first?
Mhm.
right.
And what are they more likely to pick out of two items? Um, yeah, it's just observing how
Yeah,
they're getting along with it, and having that group was so helpful. And they're all like credited the playtesters.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Cool. Hell yeah. Is watching people play the game still part of your testing process or your workflow, or like do you watch people play the game now?
Um, yeah, not as much as I did in the first like month or so after release, because
Mhm.
I was kind of like I was kind of trying to keep the full version and the content that would be in that kind of like under wraps in a way
yeah, yeah,
Sure.
until
Yeah.
maybe like 2 weeks before release, when I was like, okay, how about you guys play test it and we'll
Mhm.
see if any of it's fun. The
yeah.
last 4 months of work. Um, and
Boy.
so that
Yeah.
was a scary day, but it went well, thank God.
Awesome. Oh yeah.
And I didn't like. I felt it was 2 weeks leading up to launch, and I was trying to focus on what they were doing, how are they interacting with it, and it
Mhm.
launched, and then it took off, and I was still trying to understand like my own game because I don't
Mm.
really play it. Like
Mm.
I really don't. I think
You're
I,
like, I hate
I
it.
I've beaten the game. I can probably count how many times I've like actually beaten the game on my hands.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
so watching other people do the work for me, I guess. I don't know, thinking about playing Nubby as work,
Yeah,
but
no, yeah.
it's
Sure.
it, I think I watched people play it the first couple months opposed to
Mhm.
now because I was just trying to figure out what was going on
What
and
is
Yeah.
this thing?
what is this?
Yeah.
There's so much. I'm so unfamiliar with it now that I've added all this content to it.
Right, right.
And now that I've kind of
Oh.
got an understanding of how people are or playing it, it's like, okay, I don't really, whatever.
I mean,
I get it.
I'm curious, like as a follow up to watching people play, because I know that like the game sort of like took off through sort of like streamers and stuff like that, and like a friend of ours told me about it, and that's where I first saw it in our Discord actually. But I saw like later that like Northern Line was like posting a lot of videos about it and streaming it, and like it kind of like spread from there. Like, how did that work from your perspective? Like, what did you see, or like, it must have been kind of crazy.
Yeah, this is the part where I start talking about like imposter syndrome and the difference between making a good game and luck as well.
Sure.
So I'll start from the start, I guess. Like demo, I had about like let's say January of 2025, started January. I had probably like 500 wish lists.
Wow.
And there was a lot of people. There's a good amount of people in the Discord who were. It's not
That's
nothing.
good. Yeah.
And leading up to the month's release, I was posting teasers and stuff, and getting more and more attention. It was on a really small scale, but still there was attention being drawn to it. And I participated in Steam Next Fest, and at the start of the Steam Next Fest in February, this is like a week or two before release, and on March 7th, I had about 700 wish lists then, and by the end of it, I had 1,400. So it doubled. And I was stoked about that.
Yeah,
much like Nubby's itself.
There you go. Drawing the parallels.
There we go. Yeah.
And I at the time of release, I was expecting to sell about like 2,000 or 3,000 copies and over the lifetime of Nubby, and I was perfectly content with that. I'm like happy to call it a day, and that'll be that. So I release it, and it's actually doing exactly what I thought it would for the first 5 or 6 days. And it was like, I sold like 500 copies the first day, and I was stoked about that. I'm like, sweet, I'm gonna work this summer. And then
right.
Then 6 days later, I receive a message in my Discord. Someone says, "Hey, Chibley is playing Nubby," and I had heard of him because he was associated with Northern Lion. A friend of Northern Lion, and there was like 1,000 people watching. And that night, I didn't sleep that night at all, because I had heard that Northern Lion was in the chat.
Oh,
Chibley. So this is where I'm starting to think, like, where's the luck coming into play? Like, where did Chibley even find Nubby?
Right.
Like, it wasn't that well known. Why did he just pick it up and play it on stream? And just so happened that Northern Lion was in the chat with him.
Yeah, it's like multiple levels of luck. Yeah, truly.
So I didn't sleep that night because I had caught wind that Northern Lion was going to play it the next morning live on stream, and sure enough, he did. And like that day, it just took off. It was from Northern Lion to every other streamer.
Right.
Like over the next 2 months, like it was like not unusual for me to see like, oh, there's someone streaming Nubby with 10,000 viewers right now.
Wow.
And it like I had never even heard of these streamers, and it showed me how big the video games market is.
Sure.
Like,
totally.
At some point, I'm like, there's no way there's anybody else who ever want to play the game. Like, everyone who wanted to has bought it.
Yeah.
And it just kept coming. I'm like, God, like where did that come from? That's how it looked like from my end. Shocking, extremely stressful. Like the Discord server at launch was around 400 people, and now today it's around 12,000.
Wow.
3 months later.
Sure.
Hell yeah, dude.
So it's like, learning how to manage that.
Is anytime you post, it's like,
he's
here.
Yeah.
It's actually
Tony.
Really, it's so fun to like post and at everyone, and like,
oh yeah,
like,
power.
I'm gonna send a notification to 12,000 people's phones right now.
All over the world too.
Like, this is weird.
Like killing the power grid in San Francisco.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
you call it luck, but I mean, for me, I think a large part of it is like the visual aesthetic, and I'm curious, like, sort of
Sure.
where you're pulling that from, because it's sort of like our generation, and you're quite a bit younger,
Right,
and
yeah.
I'm like,
We haven't.
I'm like, I'm
overtly-
wondering what you saw, or like what you played, or like whatever, where you're pulling from to sort of make it feel like, like a in-browser Flash game or something like that, which must have been part of the appeal for like the aforementioned streamers, just being like, oh, I'll check out this fucking weird game,
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. The visual surreal graphics are definitely part of that
Totally.
whole. I think I was like a weird kid. I played a lot of like crappy like bargain bin games, like just like and shareware and stuff where it's just like my favorite thing in the world was like those discs that were like 1,000 games.
Yeah.
And they all sucked.
They're all terrible, or they're all like slight rules variations of each other. It's like, this isn't a game. This is like
so I played those and they were total cash grabs, but there was a charm to them. I felt I didn't realize it at the time, but like I still have those, or and I played them in like recent years. I'm like, this is fun. It's fun because it's so bad. It's good.
It's like an entertaining experience rather than like a compelling game design. It's just like sort of this thing that you're interacting with, kind of.
Yeah, and it's like the whole time you're kind of making fun of it.
Sure.
Like I thought like that was half the fun. Like this, I'm laughing at it the whole time. So like this is so like pathetic.
Yeah.
Taking that as inspiration, like I always thought, like, to try to make it funny, make it goofy, keep it lighthearted. And like I found that like when I was making these graphics, they're all done in Blender, the 3D stuff.
Okay.
Cool.
And like when I'm working in Blender, if I'm not having fun, then I'm scrapping the idea completely. Because it's like if I think it's boring, then they're gonna think it's boring. So, yeah, I don't know. It comes from my love of older games, and plus like I grew up right actually at the tail end of like the old what do they call it, Web 0.0,
1.0, 2.0.
Web
I don't
0.0. It's like
Web.
It's like basically what I'm trying to get at is what websites looked like before they looked like what they look today.
Right.
The 1990s to
like
early 2000s. GeoCities.
Yeah, totally.
That stuff. Like I always thought it was because every once in a while, like they weren't completely. It's hard to find one these days. Let's just say. It's if you're looking for something and you find somebody's website, it's gonna look kind of like everyone else's.
It's gonna be like a Squarespace template.
Yeah, for the most part.
That's what it is.
Did they use Wiz or Webflow or Square? Like it's like, who cares? They're all the same.
So, I just thought those are so fun. Those stupid websites, because it's like, oh, it's such a reflection of the person and who they are, and it's corny and it's not perfect. So those websites that I used to be able to kind of stumble upon were big inspiration.
Well, how would you stumble upon those? Like, it's truly, we don't need to illuminate that much the fact that we're like a whole generation or two older than you, but like Alon and I were talking before, it's like we lived it, man. On GeoCities. But no, I am like genuinely
Angel Fire.
I had an Angel Fire with Goku.
Right when you were living it. Right.
Yeah.
Man.
I wasn't like alive. I was born in 2003.
Yeah, truly.
So like in 2010, I was in kindergarten, and that was like the earliest time that I was consistently on a computer because of computer lab.
Yeah, there we go.
So there was things like Kid Pix, which is like this.
Dude, Kid Pix is sick.
Yeah, like we use that. I use that, and it's like these teachers who are still using programs from like the really early 2000s.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
a Mac they've had for like 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're getting it when it's brand new, and
Yeah.
you're getting it
Yeah.
like when it's like, we need to replace this.
That's exactly what's going on.
That's funny.
I'm
Yeah.
playing your used computer.
That's so good.
Cool. And now we're playing your game. No,
Love
do you
it.
think like, I don't know, because like I think your game speaks to like a lot of different people, right? Like do you think about like nostalgia in the context of the appeal of your game? Because I'm gonna say that like that's not really how I clock it. Like I clocked the way that people talked about it and we're just like, it's trippy edutainment. And I was like, yeah, I guess, but like it it was very clear very quickly that it was like, no, this is like this person's aesthetic choices. It's more about like what this individual is interested in doing with these like graphical styles. But do you think that like there's a certain like part of the game's appeal which does appeal to like, hey, this looks like the the brand new Mac I had at school? Like, do you think that that's like a significant part of what people are vibing with, or have you clocked that like overtly?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it was designed. I'm a sucker for nostalgia.
Okay, yeah, just straight
and-
up, yeah.
And that does it for me and people who are my age or a little older,
Mhm.
especially for you guys, where it's like, okay, I was like an actual conscious being when this was
Yeah.
all going down.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I don't know. You guys are like, my target market here is what I'm trying to
Truly,
say.
like I think that's like what I'm like trying to hear. It's like,
This is fucking weird. I'm old.
we so old.
Yeah.
I didn't actually think that the market would be as big as it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like I thought, there's gonna be some people who are into it just because it's novel and it's like, oh, so here's someone replicating this era that isn't
Mhm.
commonly replicated. You see, when you think of retro, you think of pixel art, an arcade game.
Right.
Yeah.
But you don't think of like the games between that and now.
Uh-huh.
So I thinking of trying to do something different. People want what they haven't seen, and it's yeah, taking the I guess is kind of preying on the nostalgia factor. I didn't think it would work so well. So
Yeah. It's hitting. I mean,
There we go.
I don't want to get dark here, but I was curious
Oh my
because no, it's just because when we did the landlord and Nubby's episode, one thing that I kind of clocked was like, it's kind of weird that both games are like taking place in sort of like real life anxieties. Like Luck Be a Landlord is like you have to pay your rent or you get like evicted. And Nubby's is like you have to make your company's quota or the sun explodes. And I'm like, where did that come from? Like your own work or like school anxieties, or like how did you get to that sort of like world for Nubbies?
I just think it's something that a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah.
With like they're after the age of I don't know, even like 17, it's just like there's the pressure's on. And like I used to work at like a bagel shop. And it was like I actually had
It was chill.
it was so not chill.
Oh, no, it wasn't chill.
It wasn't chill at all.
Dude, so this is based off the bagel factory.
Yeah,
oh my
if
god!
I hadn't worked at the bagel factory, none of this ever would have happened. I had like a quota. I had to serve a certain amount of customers a day.
Oh my god! It's literally the bagel factory.
Yeah, and it was stressful because this is totally getting off topic, but I was like, like people would be like competitive, and when I was working with them, and like they're trying to like budge you out in front of like like where you're taking customers' orders. I'm like, I can't. I'm trying to serve people bagels, but get away.
Dude, this is not off topic. This is like right on topic.
Exactly what inspired the numbers.
Oh my god, this is amazing.
I don't know. To answer your question, it's just like a relatable thing.
Yeah,
that a lot of people deal with, and it's just the number has to go up to a certain amount for a thing to happen.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah,
so
exactly.
sometimes it's really hard to get that number to go up.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes numbers don't go up.
And
You're
then
gonna
the
take
sun
one lesson away
explodes.
from today. Yeah, sun explodes.
Yeah. Fair enough. Damn, dude.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, we're getting kind of personal. I just wanted to, because that's like what this is, right? Like I was sort of tooting my horn, but also like gassing you up a little bit and being like, this is like very singularly your, like, this is your creation essentially. I do want to emphasize though a little bit the music in the game too. Like, how did you meet Vinegar?
Right?
Vinegar.
Vinegar. I don't know. He basically he just reached out to me. Like I posted on TikTok. I had a big following on TikTok right when the demo was first starting to come up.
Okay.
People were checking it out from there, and he played it and he loved it. He said, "Hey, I'm a hobbyist composer. I'd love to make a soundtrack for your game." And I'm like, "All right, well, show me what you got." Because I have I like making music myself. I'm a musician. I play guitar, piano. So there was kind of like this. You gotta wow me here.
Prove yourself.
Yeah,
you better be better than me.
Yeah, you gotta sell more bagels than me.
So he whipped up the title track in like an hour.
Whoa!
And I'm like, this guy is really efficient, and he made it exactly how I wanted it to be. It fit exactly what I was trying to do, or like the aesthetic that I was trying to portray. It matched with that so well, and I'm like, this is perfect.
That rocks.
It's so good.
So I just hired him. I'm like, you're on. I don't regret it at all. He's a super nice guy, hard worker, and he did a bang up job.
He did.
Shout out to Vinegart.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, like when someone cold calls you too, like when you're already like XYZ length down. Like, I've put a lot of work into this project. Like, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but it's like a perspective where it's like, I know it's interesting. I'm sure you do want to compose on it. Again, this isn't you talking, but it's like, I think it's fair to be like, show me what you got. Like, and also having to be able to navigate, like, no, I don't think it's gonna work. Like, thanks for, like, thankfully it didn't go that way.
There. I mean, I probably got like a 100 or 200 requests to do the soundtrack. Wow. So
around that same time or total?
Yeah, well, like total, but
okay, sure.
There was a lot around that time.
And you think it's people just saw the TikTok and were like, "Oh my god, this needs music," or were you
looks so cool?
Were you like asking people for music, or like?
I didn't ask anyone.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was all cold calls.
Look at that.
Love that. What you said earlier, kind of like that. It's so true. Where it's like there's this like prove it kind of thing going on. Where I have this really territorial mentality around Nubby.
The big
and I'm trying to like, try to be less prideful about it. Like people like will reach out and be like, hey, would you want to like I can hop on, help you, work on the coding or any art, and I'm like, oh
no,
it's my thing.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know. It's just like
good for you.
It's something you deal with when you work on something so long, like so many hours every single day.
Totally. It's your work, and I'm trying to like cultivate a question about like I don't know. There's not a good question in it, but it's just something about how like that seems reflective in like a pretty friggin' honest way of, because like I think. I'm vamping and struggling because I'm trying to get the idea straight before I say it. And it's like the notion of, I think there's a lot of like fantasy and like, there's a lot of fantasy around the idea of the solo dev. And like what you're talking about right now is like, no, that's like the reality of it though. It's like, no, this is my thing. Like I did this.
Yeah.
And again, like I'm not putting words in your mouth, but like the feeling of like, yeah, I know it's great. Like I made it and I like it. Like it's mine, and I don't think that reflects anybody. I think it's just like it's very easy to. I'm trying to think of the word. It's not fantasize. What's the word for like when you think
romanticize?
Romanticize.
Let's go.
It's let's go. It's like it feels like at this point, especially, it's very easy to romanticize the notion of the solo in the post Balatro world. It's very easy to romanticize the solo dev. So to like get some like actual talk going about how like but like you all receive it once like after I've put 5,000 hours into it, kind of. And I don't know if I'm sure you're familiar with Jonathan Blow, right? No.
Oh, what's he known for? I do know.
Braid and the Witness.
And the Witness. Yeah. I remember seeing an interview with or like something with him where he was just like, well, I've spent 100,000 hours with the game and they've only spent 5 hours. So I have to remember that when I'm thinking about what they're saying. And it's like him in a pretty brutal way, just being like, I don't even think the point is like, they don't know what they're talking about. It's more just like, this is mine.
Yeah.
And I've given it to you. Or like, I don't know what it is, but it's and I don't think that's what you're saying, but like, there's a certain there is
that like I was saying, like the territorial thing about it, or like like this is my thing, and it kind of hurts. It's like it's kind of like it's a really weird analogy. When some people, like when they have a little brother and someone's picking on their little brother, it's like you can't call it bad. I can call my game bad.
Totally get that. Totally get that.
Having to like I guess work past the like getting negative criticism. I actually didn't get any until like maybe 2 weeks after.
Whoa.
I was 100% positive reviews on Steam.
Wow.
Up until one guy just absolutely tore it apart.
Okay,
I mean,
that rocks.
He let me have it. You know, like I was.
Fuck you.
I had just like the biggest ego about it. I'm like, not a single negative review.
Yeah. First game ever made.
I guess I am the best.
They'll never get one, right? Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I got one, and it like actually stung so bad.
It stung.
Like it really did.
Yeah.
I wasn't used to it. I think it was just kind of like an uppercut to the jaw, because like I wasn't expecting it at all.
Yeah.
And
I mean to laugh, but
and that actually, I mean, it was the first of many negative reviews. There's plenty that I've followed, but that was the first one where I had to kind of like sit down and like walk myself through it. Like, okay, this is one person. There's 600 other people who were fans of the game, and they left a positive review. Just this one person who's probably unhappy in life, and they just
gutterballed a couple nubbies. We've all been there, and they got upset.
Yeah, hard day at work, I'm sure. Yeah,
it's okay. So I have two more questions I want to ask you. One of which is like, it could be, we're coming up on an hour.
Yeah,
right?
we gotta
promised
wrap it up.
you an hour. We gotta wrap it up. But I am genuinely curious. Like, how do you stay focused amidst like people telling you this is so good, this is so bad? Like, how do you stay focused on like what you care about in the game and like what you want to do with it?
I kind of have this like method towards approaching the negative criticism, where I think if someone says this sucks, like that's it. I just immediately comment.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, how about but like this sucks and do this. And I'm like, okay, now it's something to work with, right?
It's like a dialogue.
Yeah.
It's just constructive criticism is what I'm describing.
Yeah.
Critique.
And trying to like balance what do I think is right. It's just it's always it's like a tight wire. Just trying to walk that. I think when I'm implementing something, if it doesn't feel true to if I feel bothered by adding a feature or removing a feature, then I don't, because clearly there's something about that's working for me, and it's working towards my vision. Even though I mean I don't know exactly what it is, what it is that I'm tied to, but there is something there that's like all right, I guess I'm attached to this. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
it's like the gut feeling, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Trusting the gut. Yeah, totally. Spoken. I'm trying to go spoken like a true artist who happens to also be a numbers guy. No, I have we have one last question for you. So like this is a lot of work. You were working before coming on the show with us. What do you do to rest?
Just absolutely go away from my computer.
Yeah.
For like I think around like 6 p.m. 7 p.m. I'm just like, all right, we're done. Like after this, I'm like I'm done, and I'm not gonna look at my phone. I'm not gonna go on Discord on my phone or anything.
Yeah.
And then it's when I wake up the next morning, it's time to get a coffee, pick it up again, and just having those like hard boundaries. Like even if like my mod pings me like 20 times and like there's clearly something wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god! Yeah.
No,
so good.
Trying to have he's just blow it off. And there's this a boundary that has to be set with at least working on the game.
Man,
and I didn't have that balance for a long time after release. And it was trying to grapple with all of the attention it was getting. I felt like if I stepped away, I'd be missing an opportunity.
Sure. Yeah.
Like if I wasn't doing something to help myself, I was screwing myself over in the future. Like getting over that, I think what helped me get over that is Nubby just isn't as popular as it was 2 months ago. That's just the truth. And it's run its life cycle, and it's still steady, and still super happy with it. People are still playing it, so yeah, I'm real happy with where it's at, where I'm at right now.
Awesome. Well, like God freaking bless that you're like able to figure out the need for boundaries at the. I don't want to draw attention to how old you are and how old we are, but it's
it's fine. I understand.
I got a coworker who's like 23, and like she's always saying stuff that I'm like, damn, like you've got it figured out, and like you're 23. it's like basically that. Like, hell yeah, dude. Time boundaries.
Before we wrap up real quick, I just want to give you a chance if you want to tell people where to like follow you or check out Nubby's stuff or join the Discord or whatever. Like, just shout anything out you want.
Oh yeah. So join the Nubby Discord. It's linked in the title screen of the game. Follow me on TikTok at mogdogblog, on Blue Sky at mogdogblog. That's really it for socials, to be real with you.
Cool.
Boundaries, right?
Yeah. Clean.
And YouTube at mogdogblog. That's the only one.
Those are the good ones.
Seep into my life. And Nubby Mobile is coming out hopefully like this summer or this fall. That'll be all wrapped up and released.
Hell yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that. And the other secret news that I was kind of vague about early on is happening sometime.
T-shirt.
It could be, or maybe it could be a stress ball or something completely different. I'm gonna keep it vague. I'll keep the viewers on.
I love it, dude. I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. This is great.